Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Global Book Network, the show where we sit with authors and we ask them about the craft. My name is Global Boyce, and I'm so excited to be here today because I just love asking what it means to look at love from a different lens. And my guest today does that in spades. We're talking about the book, Musings of a Romance Addict, which made me smile first time I read it. Please welcome Ms. Camille Dunhill. What's going on?
Well, I'm just working along here, trying to work on my possibly second book for this, um, but it's still not coming through. I haven't got that vibe yet. I mean, the first book I did that, and this is the first time I'd done a book of that genre. I
Yeah.
had never done that before. I've written other books, but this was my first one like that, and it was just it took me 2 years, and it wasn't even supposed to be a book. It was just like a diary, and I'm
Mhm.
just writing things down and sharing things. And then before I knew it, I had 400 pages.
Wow.
And yeah, and I thought, wow, what am I going to do with this? So I thought, well, let me think about doing it. And I went online to see if there were any titles, Musings of a Romance Addict, and I didn't find any. So I thought, well, that's it, because really that's what I was doing. I've been looking for romance for years, and it's not out there. It's especially now in this dating scene that we have, online dating. It's impersonal. It's People are not honest, and it's just quite different from when I was dating in my 20s.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. I will always say, from my personal experience, that second novel always tends to be like coming from the mud, right? Just like you're just trying to get the momentum going. But you touched on a lot of things I want to talk to you about romance today. I don't consider myself romantic. I'm kind of romantic by accident. You know what I mean?
Well,
Uh,
however you do it, keep
yeah,
doing
it's
it.
like I got you some flowers because I think you mentioned it in the conversation last week. You needed some. You
Yeah,
know?
right,
uh,
right.
but you did mention that romance has pretty much changed. Digital is a part of that. It is different than when we were growing up. Talk to me about that in the research of this book and things you love, things you don't like. Is there things you love or don't like about how romance is displayed today?
Well, I was in a long-term relationship, and my partner passed away a few years ago, and I didn't know, what direction my life was going to take. And I do have a business here in Palm Beach, so I just delved right into my business and kept going there, but I wasn't really happy. And my friend said, "Look, you've got to get out there and do it. You're young enough, and you don't have to just be alone all the time." But I was ready. So it took me like 2 years after my partner passed away. And then I went online and I started dating. And in the first part of the book, the first 80 pages, is my encounter with a person who I fell in love with in like a week. I never met him, he didn't exist. And it just brought home the new way that dating is happening in this 21st century. People will make up stories. They're not real. They're not even in this country. And I just fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And I was so disappointed. Uh, and I started writing these things down because I really wanted to document how it didn't just happen to me, and it doesn't just happen to women, it happens to men as well. And as I was dating people, I would mention my first encounter with this person who didn't exist. And they said, "Oh my God, the same thing happened to me." And they would tell me their stories. So between my actual experiences and the things I was learning from the people I was meeting, I was putting it all together. And it's kind of like, buyer beware. You don't know if these people are. And the worst thing that happens nowadays is that someone will just simply ghost you. They'll date you, maybe take you out, do whatever, and then all of a sudden you never hear from them again. And that, I think, is the rudest thing in the world. I mean, because when even when I was in college, they didn't do that. I mean, if they wanted to break up with you, they would let you know that they didn't want to see you again or something, but they didn't just disappear. And it's just because everything is so anonymous on the internet, they can disappear and you never hear from them again because you don't even know if they said, if they're supposedly from New York or Connecticut, you don't even know if that's where they really are.
Yeah. So you see a lot of things that did ring true for me. The whole ghosting thing, I guess I'm old school in that way because in the East Coast, you got to give someone a dang good reason why you don't want to see them no more, right? If it's something small like difference of opinion or you smell or I'm leaving town, something. But I do feel, and I guess it's kind of a bigger issue, that with the access to technology and digital platforms, we feel we're more connected ever before, but in practice, I feel like it's harder to have conversations. It's harder to meet people. It's harder to say how you feel. I mean, it almost feels like this double-edged sword's happening.
I know, and because of the anonymity of these social media, the online profiling, and all of that, they can just put up a profile of whoever they want you to think they are, and you think, oh my God, they're perfect. That's my soulmate. That's really great. And they're making it all up. It's not even who they are. So after I got through that first encounter with that person who didn't exist, I started being more careful. And, my personal trainer told me, he said, you can't be believing these people. They're just out there, and they're going to scam you. And I hated to be like that because I'm a romantic myself, and I want to believe in love, and I want to believe in honesty, and I'm doing it. I'm being a good girl. But nobody else is being good. So it was a tough learning experience, but I did meet a gentleman who was real, and I did meet him, and I'll call him Captain Jack. And he was so sweet and patient with me. He knew I didn't have very much experience at all, and I had led a very sheltered life, but he just took me by the hand, and he was my mentor, and he was just a pleasure to be with. And he gave and introduced me to so many things that I never knew about. And, some of them were wonderful and some were not so wonderful. But I figured, well, what the heck? I'm learning. And I was like a sponge. I said, okay, tell me everything I want to know. I don't want to get caught without knowing where I'm going down this road. And he did. He just took me by the hand and explained things to me. And he was just really a wonderful person to me, and I trusted him.
Kind of an aside, but did you meet Captain Jack online as well, or did you go
I
outside and
did.
meet him
I
face to
met him
face?
online, and I met him on a very vanilla site. And
Okay.
I'm a very I was a very vanilla lady until I met Captain Jack, and then all of a sudden, oh, no holds barred. I mean, whatever. And again, I trusted him, so I thought he's not going to hurt me, and he didn't. But he did introduce me to, and if you read the book, you're going to see some of the things he introduced me to, which I had no idea existed. And I was married once for a short period of time, and then I had my partner, and we were both very vanilla and didn't know any of these, really strange things you could do sexually. And yeah, that's what went into the book.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to you about that. Well, not the actual technique, but rather the documentation of your own journey and growth, right? Or Stacey's journey and growth, and being able to be honest with yourself of what you did know and what you didn't know. How did you want to craft Stacey's knowledge or lack of knowledge? Was that a balancing act, or just kind of like a carbon copy of what you're going through?
Actually, when I did start writing this down, I it was like a diary. Tuesday, this is what happened. Wednesday, this, and it was just a diary, and it was for my own edification. It was not going to be shared. It was never supposed to be shared. And I kept going and going, and as if you've read the book, you'll see that I talk to the reader as I'm writing, and I'll say, "What do you think about this? Can you believe this?" And so I'm chatting with the reader as I'm going along. So it's basically a diary that tells my experiences, and also it's blended in with some of the other people I talked to and I interviewed as I'm writing this. Then, as I get further into this book, I realize I want more detail of maybe things I didn't do, but things that are there and that people had, had either loved or didn't love, and I included that in the book. So it's really a tale of learning and experience and searching. And I wanted to share my experiences with other people. So hopefully they could learn from what I was going through, either my mistakes or the things that I was able to do on a more positive level.
At the start of your or Stacy's journey, did you have a definition of what romance was, and had that changed or evolved over time? Or is it kind of like a rubric you use to ground yourself when you have these experiences?
No, I've been searching for love since I was a little girl. And I remember as I was growing up, I don't know if you remember the series Heart to Heart with, do you remember
Yeah, my,
that?
my old professor wrote for that show, Tom
Okay.
Mankiewicz.
Okay. Heart to Heart was like, oh, I love that show. They were so in love. They were, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be heart to heart. And I thought everything they did was so romantic. And that was kind of my roadmap. This is what I want in a relationship. I want to be close to someone, and I want to trust them, and I want to go on adventures together. And this was very hard to find. And there were no other role models out there that I could look at and try to get some ex, examples of how to do this. And I just wanted romance. I just wanted the roses and the flowers and the music, and not necessarily, maybe just figuratively, not necessarily that I wanted a room full of roses, but
Yeah.
I wanted to feel special. I wanted to feel loved. And I think anybody, man or woman, that's what we're all looking for. We're looking to be loved unconditionally. And now there are so many reasons why people will say, well, I don't want to see you anymore for whatever stupid reason they have,
Mhm.
and I've lost friends over that, that they were going in another direction from me, and we just couldn't maintain the relationship. So, I have been searching for romance. I found it a few times, but clearly it didn't last. And I don't know, maybe it's just one of those things that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Sometimes I struggle with that too. I'm currently in a relationship, but for a long time I wasn't. TMI maybe. And it always felt like, man, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to upgrade myself. Maybe I need to read more books. And I think a lot of individuals kind of go through that moment. Am I broken? Am I the person that's wrong? Is the world wrong? And I felt like there was almost a crossroads where people go to and say, uh, are they being bitter? Is it, well, dating is hard because of X, Y, and Z over there, or dating is hard because I'm not doing something? Did you have that kind of moment yourself, or was that just a unique experience for me, I guess?
No, I think a lot of people go through that, but I do believe that sometimes everyone has a different definition of romance.
Hmm.
Um, and the most disappointing thing is when you are dating someone and you think, oh my God, this is really, we're on the same wavelength. We've got so much in common. We've got so much to discuss. And then for some whatever reason, they're gone with no explanation. And I'm the kind of person, I do a lot of research, and because of my business and because just of the way I am, and I don't like to be left without a reason.
Hmm.
So if there's something, tell me what it is, and if we can fix it, fine, and if not, fine. But don't just go away after we've had this wonderful relationship and not tell me what happened. I don't want to have to guess. I don't know what's going through your head. I'm not a mind reader. And I think that's the problem. Whether a person meets someone else or there's something about you that they decided that they couldn't live with, you're too sloppy or you're too organized or you're too whatever. And after getting to know you for a while, they say, okay, this is not for me. Fine. Tell
Hmm.
me it's not for you.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, being communicative is something that's good, even when you're in a relationship, right? Just saying how you feel and expressing those feelings. I know you said it started off as more of a diary thing, and the book isn't a diary format. But was there any kind of like pulls or experimentation to have it in a narrative or prose way, or just you knew from page one it was going to keep that diary format?
No, it just turned out to be that way because what was happening is I was so involved in the dating scene because once I got into it with Captain Jack, it was like, whoa, this is great. I want to do this forever. So it was like, and I'm writing it all down because I wanted to remember and I wanted to be able to re-experience these things I was going through because I'd never done any of this before. So it just kept going and it only turned out as a diary format the way it is because I would document every day something would happen and I
Yeah.
wanted to remember that and I wanted to remember the lessons that, that I was learning from doing these things, whether they were bad or good. I wanted to remember all this, and so that's how it got to be, and I just kept writing and writing and writing, and the next thing you know, I've got this Musings of a Romance Addict.
Now that the book is out and available, I gotta ask if I want to be 0.5% more romantic today, what could I do? What can I do to improve my romantic quotient, if there is one?
Well, first of all, to be romantic, you've got to worry more about the other person's happiness than your own. And that's difficult to do because most people don't do that and they don't know how to do that. And also, not be judgmental because, again, that's just ingrained in us. We look at someone and we say, oh, I don't like them because of this. And you're judging people, even if you don't know them. So this is like the human being factor there. You do what you know and you see what happens. But I think that I think flowers are nice, going out to dinner is nice, doing all that is nice, but it's deeper than that. It's caring about the other person. I met a gentleman recently, and he's a widower, and his wife was very, very ill, and he took care of her the entire time of her illness until she passed. And I have to say, that was the most romantic thing I ever heard because he could have just washed his hands, put her away in an institution, and not worried about it again. But he did. He wanted her to be happy right until the end. That was so romantic to me. And again, it's not just the flowers and the champagne and whatever else. I think it's little acts of kindness like that where you do put someone above yourself and want to make them happy. Because I think that if we wish this happiness on other people, it will come back to us in spades.
I'm so glad you said that because a lot of times the idea of romance for me for a long time felt very performative. I felt like I'm going to bring some flowers and there's 2 tickets to a concert and that's romance. But I think when you broke it down like that and saying, hey, look, it's just, a nugget of consideration for somebody else, your partner, makes it a way more attainable, which is a good thing. I'm glad I had a chance to extract that. So when I'm looking at Musings of a Romance Addict, as someone that you are right now, what's it look like for you today? Are you still looking for a next level? Are you still trying to learn, develop as you or your character? Where do you stand in the romance addiction, if you will?
I am still addicted to romance. I am still searching for it. I've come close a few times, but it hasn't fully developed. I do. I'm very careful by dating nowadays because I have spent all those years to write this book. And if you've read it, you're going to see I had some very strange experiences. And I don't want to have to do some of those again. But I also realized that I am a different person than I was before I wrote the book. I think I'm more understanding of relationships because it didn't occur to me how some people are so unhappy and they stay unhappy and they're in a relationship, perhaps a marriage that they don't want to get out of or cannot get out of, and they just stay there unhappy, and then they make one another unhappy. And that's can't even lead to romance. That's just, you're torturing yourselves. But for either financial reasons or because of the children or whatever, we can't break up this relationship. We've got to stay until, one of us dies. That shouldn't be. We don't have to. Our life is too short to not be happy. And I guess right now what I'm pursuing is happiness, and happiness will lead to what I'm looking for. And I don't think it's a terrible thing to search for happiness. I think we all deserve it. And I don't care who you are, we all deserve to be happy, and we deserve to, in our happiness, we're giving something to someone else, hopefully.
Well, that's pretty much all we can hope for. Right now, if I wanted to learn more about Musings of a Romance Addict, or even you as an author, how can someone go about doing that?
Where you mean, where is the book?
Yeah, where's the book? Where can they find you? Where can they interact
The book
with you?
is available on Amazon, and it's in a couple of different formats. And it's also available around the country, and also it's been shipped overseas to bookstores. And I especially wanted it to go to bookstores that specialized in romance books. And I didn't even know they existed until I did this thing. And publishers told me, no, they've got these specialized bookstores for romance works. And so you're going to give them what they want. And so there it is. It's out there. It's all over the place. If you Google Camille Dunhill, she's got tons of listings there. You can find out anything about her you want to do. So I think it'd be easy enough to find those things.
Absolutely. In fact, I just learned so much in just a short conversation today. I know anyone that has a chance to check out the book, Musings of a Romance Addict, will learn a lot going through your adventures or misadventures at this time. Thank you so much for being on the show, Global Book Network, here today. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate your time spent with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Flo. I enjoyed speaking with you, and good luck with your romance.